It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for The Last of Us on HBO. On this video, we're going to be taking a look at the origins of the Cordyceps fungus being explained in the TV adaptation of The Last of Us, and I'm going to be sharing my thoughts about where I think they're going to expand the origin story for the Cordyceps fungus, where they're going to change things potentially, and how it might all come together and be an enhanced version of the story that was told in the video game. So stay tuned, we'll be right back to break it all down. Alright, as always, before we dive into it, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. With that said, let's dive right into it. So obviously, based on the latest teaser that was released, we did see what appears to be a scientist in a lab looking at some sort of a fungus, which I'm assuming is the Cordyceps fungus. So this is definitely giving us an indication that we're going to see the origin story for the Cordyceps fungus and how the fungus or the virus itself got created. Now, there's two ways that they could go with the story in terms of how they want the origin story to be. Either they could explain things in a way where they're going to tell us that this was an experiment gone wrong, leading to the creation of the Cordyceps fungus, which got out of control and they couldn't handle things and it got out, leading to the actual global pandemic of the Cordyceps fungus. And that's probably the way that it was in the video game. Even though they didn't necessarily explain it directly, everything seemed to point towards that. However, on the flip side, they could also go a direction where this might not have been an experiment gone wrong, or potentially a mixture of an experiment gone wrong and the government trying to use this Cordyceps fungus as a weapon. So trying to weaponize this virus in order to do some damage to another government or potentially to create a pandemic to control the population. Any of those two could apply, and what makes things interesting is given the information that I've covered on the channel, because I've covered a lot of behind the scenes stuff and some background information about filming of The Last of Us, I know that they did create some sort of a set which was supposed to be in Jakarta, Indonesia. And based on everything that fans have been able to put together, which I covered on the channel, it appears that we're actually gonna travel back to the 80s or 90s in flashback, and we're gonna meet up with some generals from Indonesia who are gonna be talking about some sort of a virus. Now, this could obviously connect directly to my theory, which is that this could be a government trying to weaponize some sort of a virus and it getting out of control to a point where it's a global pandemic. The picture that I have on the right here is actually the set piece that they were using. Now, this was one of the set pieces. The other one was actually at a restaurant. And in that particular one, based on some things that some extras posted, that particular scene was showing a couple generals talking about some virus. So all of these things appear to come together quite nicely. Now here's where I think things could get even more interesting. I think that what we might potentially see is a remixed storyline in which they're gonna blend that story with the Indonesian government and the Indonesian generals with the story with the Fireflies. And what I mean by that is they could actually have a backstory for how the Fireflies were formed. And it could have been a collaborative thing between two governments, the US government and the Indonesian government. And I think that this could potentially be a good way to expand on the Firefly story. Now, another part of this is obviously we do know based on the video game there are different types of monsters. There are the clickers and there are the bloaters and other types that we've seen in part 2 as well. But aside from all of these different monsters, there's a generic infected type as well. So here's where I think things could get interesting, and this goes back to what I was saying about a mixture of a virus being detected and the government's trying to weaponize that virus, what we could end up seeing is the original infected that we've seen a lot in the video game could be the main type of infected from the virus itself. And the monsters that we see, like the clickers and the bloaters and the shamblers, could be a version of the virus that was created and spread because the governments were trying to weaponize that original virus that created the infected themselves. And if they do that, that'll be an expansion of the game, and I think it would add a layer that would make things quite interesting. Now, the other aspect of it is in the TV adaptation, we could see even more types of monsters that we didn't see in the game. And the reason why they might want to do that is to create unique monsters that are just for the TV adaptation, to give the TV show its own identity in a way, and to kind of have it be known by something that's just for the TV show. You know what I mean? Now, the other part of it, going back to the idea of seeing the origin of the virus, everything I talked about is one aspect of things. The other aspect of things, which they're probably also going to dive into, is how the virus spread throughout the country and potentially the world. And they could actually show us how society fell apart after the virus spread, after the start of the pandemic of the Cordyceps fungus. This is obviously something that many post-apocalyptic TV shows and movies lack, which is to actually give us a good experience in terms of seeing the societies fall apart after such a thing. We've always seen the aftermath, but we haven't really seen what leads to the aftermath of the apocalypse. You know what I mean? A lot of movies and TV shows like The Walking Dead, they gave us a condensed experience, but they didn't necessarily dive into some of the most important aspects of how a society can fall apart after such an event, which I'm hoping they are gonna kind of address and show us in The Last of Us to make this show even better than the video game itself, because the video game obviously also didn't really give us that. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.